don't.
So now I can hear. Now I can hear you. Sorry
Yeah,
for that. Actually, joined late.
no problem. So at least you might have said that we are unable to hear you. Anyways, coming back to this, what I am discussing here is there are two types of companies. One is the IT service company, and the other one is the non-IT service companies. So can you tell me what is meant by an IT service company? What are the products that this IT service company will provide? So when you see here, in general, there are so many people who knows the complete knowledge, who are having the knowledge on computers. They will comes under the IT people, and the people who doesn't have the complete knowledge about the computer, they have the basic computer knowledge, like you have to open like this and you have to use these keys. Somebody will give some training and they will work it out. Basic knowledge about the computers, like your banking sector peoples. For example, there is a bank, so that will completely comes under the non-IT sector. So there is a bank, and when you go back to the previous era, that is from 2000, 2005, that era, when you go back to that era, what is going to happen? You don't have this cloud. You don't have this much exposure to internet. The users doesn't know how to use the internet. When you go back to 2005 to 2013, so when I used to study my BTech, so at those days, I don't have a single touch phone with me, what I can call it as smartphones. Okay, nowadays we are all having the smartphones. We are all without internet. Just assume your life without internet in this era. But when I go back to my engineering days, I used to have this 1600, 1100 phones, and we don't have these 5G bands, 4G bands. We don't have that. We used to have only 2G cellular data. So that is one BSNL SIM will be there, and there will be cost for each call. Nowadays, the calls are pretty free for each and every network. But on those days, we don't have that. We have, if you want to call BSNL to BSNL, 1 rupee will be charged. If you want to call from BSNL to Airtel, 1.5 rupee will be charged. Like that, we used to have the mobiles, and there is no pretty much exposure to the internet also. Now, when you're coming back to this, nowadays, each and everything is on our internet. So we don't need to go outside also. We can stay in our home and we can do anything from our home. So if you want to order food, internet is there. If you want to order groceries, applications are there and internet is there. And if you want to watch a movie, so you don't need to go to theaters also. You are having OTTs. Within 30 days, you are getting your movie on the OTT. And there are some movies which are directly releasing onto the OTT itself. So everything has converted and everything has made into your hands nowadays with the help of this internet connectivity. With the help of the IT services are growing up. So everything everything is in your hands. And despite of that, we are having some artificial intelligence is also coming into the picture. So we are completely laying on the bed and saying that you need to work it out. Just we are giving some instructions so everything can be automated. So how this can be happened? This entire thing is happening because of the IT applications. Now, a bank is there. The banking persons don't know how to develop their applications. So an accountant don't know how to create an application. An accountant don't know how to maintain the database. Of course, they might have a small understanding about that, but clearly I cannot say that. Each and every people who are working in the bank as an bank employees, like higher cadre, I can say that they can have a minimum knowledge about the computers, but who are working as clerks and cashiers, they will have a minimum knowledge on computer only. So what I want to say, there is a non-IT person, non-IT, the banking sector will completely comes under the non-IT background. Now, this bank want to be very close to their customers. So they want to be very close to their clients. So what they are doing, they are creating their applications like internet banking. Whatever the IT service companies that you are seeing, majority number of the companies, at least one banking project will be there with them. So some of the companies will have some 10, 15 banking projects are there, but majorly for any IT service company, you can see that there will be at least one banking project is there. Now, what happens here? This banking, whatever the bank is there, either you can take SBI or else ICICI or else HDFC or some Bank of Baroda, Punjab National Bank, like that. There are several banks are there. Now, this banking people, will approach to this IT service company. They will approach to the IT service company requesting to develop an application for that bank. So they request the IT service company to develop an application for the bank. So now what IT service company will do? First of all, they will clearly understand what are the requirements of the bank, how they want their application. So what are the different indexes that they want? What are the different menus they want? Like loan menu, account menu, and the credit cards menu, like that, there will be different menus. So they are going to design the application. So the first step, what is going to happen here? The first step is code analysis. For the first step is what I can say, research. And after researching which type of tools I have to use, which type of database I have to use, what should be the front end, how front end should be looking like, how the runtime, what is the runtime, how, on which language I have to write the logic. And after that, we will be going back to the databases. Everything will be configured like this. So first of all, research will be done. After doing the research, the code will be deployed, or else the code is not the deployed, the code will be developed with the help of some application logic, front end and database. The code will be developed. After the development of this code, the code will be tested. So if there is there any bugs, or the code analysis is going to be happen. Are there any bugs? Okay, if there are no bugs, then that will be promoted to the production environment. But first of all, what is going to happen here? The code testing will be done, and if there are any bugs, then the code will be sent back to the developers to recheck and make it a bug clear code. And again, the code will be forwarded to the testing team. Again, the testing team is going to test the code. So this is a loop, and it will be happening continuously. When that happens, now this completely comes under the development phase. This completely comes under the development phase. Now the next thing is, once the code clears the testing phase, then they will forward the code. Then they will forward the application to the operations team, or else administration team. Now here the point is, what is the main functionality of a DevOps engineer? What is the main functionality of the DevOps engineer, cloud engineer? So the main functionality of the cloud engineer is, the main functionality, or else the main work of the cloud engineer is, whether the cloud engineer need to have the pretty much understanding about the code. No, not required. Why? The code is developed by your development team. So you don't need to worry about the code developing. You don't need to have Java knowledge. You don't need to have Python knowledge. There is no requirement of coding. Much coding is not required. But when the code is forwarded to you, when the application is forwarded to the development or also DevOps team, here the main functionality of the DevOps team is that they have to analyze the code, and after analyzing the code, they have to deploy the code on the servers. That is the main functionality of the DevOps engineer. But we will come back it later. Why? Because we are discussing the conventional method. We are discussing the old method. Right now, we are discussing the old method. We are not into the cloud. So after testing, in good olden days, what is going to happen after the code testing is done? Then this code will be forwarded to the operations team, or else I can simply call them as an administration team, management, or else server management team. There are different companies will call the teams as different ways. But in general, I will call it as an administration team, or I can call it as an operations team. Okay. So when the code is forwarded to this operations team, now what they are going to do? They will do the first thing is UAT. Did anybody know what is meant by UAT? What is UAT? Okay. UAT means user acceptance testing. So first of all, what they will do, whenever the application came from the testing team, they will directly not deploy the application into the production environment. Here, what is meant by production environment? Making availability for the end users, which means whenever you are accessing any banking application, for example, I will go with ICICIbank.com. This application is available for me. I am the customer, I am the consumer, or else I am the client of this ICICI bank. So the web application is available for me. So I am the end user. So this web application is right now in the production environment. So before making this application available for the end user, or else before making this application available to the end user, first of all, they will go for the user acceptance testing, which means that they will show this entire application. They will deploy the application on the servers of this banking application, and they will show the application to the banking people. Whether are you satisfied with this application or not? If the banking people, if the users are satisfied with this, then they are making this application into the production environment. Then they will make the application to become live. Okay, so now this application will be available for the end users. Did the now do you think the application process is completed? Now do you think the application is completely available for the end users? No, actually it is not a limited process. So it will be continuously happening every day to day. The application has to be, after deploying the application only, the main problems will occur. The first thing is, every time we have to monitor the application, and every time we have to manage our instances, manage our servers, management of servers, management of networking has to be done. We will come to that in later on portion. But as of now, every day, every pin to pin, you have to monitor the application. Is there any sudden rise in the usage of resources? Everything you have to monitor. So, and not only that, there will be enhancements of your application. So it's a infinite process. So that is the reason why your DevOps symbol is looking like this. Why? Because every day to day, so there will be every day to day, or also every monthly, there will be definitely an enhancements in your applications, enhanced changes in the code. Every time there will be changes in the code, and the changes should be pushed into the production environment. So it's an unlimited loop. The loop will be continuously happening. So this is how your application will be available for the end users. Whatever the banking application is there, this banking application will be available for the end users. From whom? From the IT service company. Who is hosting this application? The IT service company is hosting the banking application, and this application will be available for the end users. So when you see this process, did you understand the process? Any questions in this? Did you understand the process? Any questions? Guys, any questions? Okay. So the next thing here is, where are we? Yeah, this is how your application will be developed and available to the end users. But in the good olden days, like 2000, 2005 era, so we don't have our cloud environment. So the cloud was introduced from 2006. But before that, what happened? So before that, we used to have, or else the IT service company used to have servers, physical servers. We used to have the physical servers. So one physical server will be completely allocated for one application. So this physical server, what is the problem with this physical server? Now, when we go back to the 2000, 2005, 2010, up to 2010 or 2015 on also, we used to have this servers. These physical servers are there. Now, on this physical servers, what we used to do, we used to deploy the or else we used to create the applications. Now here you need to understand a point. The first point that you need to understand here is, so whenever you want to deploy any application, first of all, you need to purchase the physical server. The first point with the physical servers, or else the first limitation with the physical server is that when you are going for the physical servers in your company, you have to note this point. In the organization, if you are purchasing, which means you have to pay the total amount of the physical server all upfront. Everything you have to clear out the dues so that you can get the physical server. So the first point is money matters. So why? Because if you want to purchase any physical server, it is not like a small mobile phone or else a laptop. It is a server. So it will cost you all around, the minimum basic cost of the physical server is 3 lakhs. Minimum cost, I said. So you have to pay the entire amount. Pay entire amount or else upfront. Upfront means in the advance itself. Okay. So this is the first thing. After purchasing the physical server, you have to install OS. You have to install the operating system. After installing the operating system, either you can go for any operating system like Linux, Windows, like this, any operating system you can install. After installing the operating system, you need to create the application, or else you need to install the application. This is eventually has to be done in any part. Either you are using the cloud environment, or else you are using the physical on-premises environment. In any environment, you have to install the application. So after installing the application, the point here is you need to monitor the app. This eventually has to be done, whether you are in cloud or else you are in on-premises. You have to monitor the application. Why? Because how it is behaving. Suddenly, is there any load on the application? There is no load on the application. What happens with the application? Is there any sudden spike in the CPU utilization? Is there any sudden spike in the memory utilization? You need to monitor the servers. Monitor servers. So here, what is the main problem, main limitation with the on-premises? First one is you need to create the server, or else you need to purchase the server. You need to build the server. After building the server, in the sense purchasing the server and installing the operating system onto that. So that has to be entirely manually done. So you have to do it manually. After creating the servers, you need to monitor the servers, and then you need to create a network. Create network. This will be done manually only. So no other person, no third party person will be there. So there will be network administrators. They have to create the network for our servers, and as well as for the end users. So how this application will be available for the end users? Try to understand. The application is in my IT service company. For example, it is hosted on some TCS servers is there. On the TCS servers, this application has been hosted. When this is hosted on that particular server, how this will be available for the end user? Obviously, we need to establish a network. We need to establish a network through internet. Internet is nothing but a network of networks. Okay, so we need to create the network. Who will create the network? So here the network creation can be done, or else has to be done manually. Network has to be created manually. We have to create the network. After creating the network, monitoring of network. This is very, very, very important. Network monitoring. Without network monitoring, if we are open to the entire internet, if the server is open to the entire internet, it is very dangerous for the company. Why? Because I don't know, any type of data can enter into the servers. This may be causing very some situations like this. Some ransoms can be entered into the server. Some ransom viruses can be entered into the server. So it is completely open. If at all, if I keep it open to the entire internet, so I cannot do that. I have to provide some security rules. So here we have to configure the security for our what I can say, security for servers by installing firewalls. Okay, who has to be done? Who should be doing all these things manually? We have to do manually. The administrator has to do all the things. Okay, after doing that, after creating the network, monitoring the network, and providing security for our servers, and later on we need to manage the storage. If I am creating an application like Instagram, or else if I am creating an application like Facebook, if I am creating an application like Swiggy, or else if I am creating an application like Ola, I don't know, every day at least if I am creating a banking application, every day at least one account will be open, and maximum number of transactions, every people will do some thousands of transactions every day. That data has to be stored. Where it should be stored? It should be stored in the storage. So we need to manually manage the storage. After that, monitoring of the storage. Managing in the sense, if the storage is full, we will be removing the storage, and we will be reinserting a new disk. So that is called as managing the storage. Monitoring the storage means whether the storage is filling up or not. By using some tools, we are going to monitor the storage. So these are all works that should be done manually. Whatever I have mentioned here, these are all will be done manually every day. So monitoring, managing, monitoring of servers, monitoring of network, monitoring of storage, monitoring of your security, everything has to be done every day. So manually we have to do all these things. So this is the main problem with the physical servers. This is the main problem with the physical servers. So now what happened? And not only that, for example, if I want to run any application, the entire physical server, I have to allocate the entire physical server. For example, I have purchased a physical server of somewhere like 16 or else 32 GB of RAM. So there will be more physical servers with 128 GB of RAM. Some physical servers like 1 TB of RAM is also there. Some physical servers can go up to 16 petabytes of RAM. So I cannot say, depending upon the application requirement, we can increase the RAM as or else we can decrease the RAM. So here I have purchased a minimum physical server, that is 32 GB of RAM is there, and some 4 CPUs are there. 4 CPUs are there. Whenever I have purchased this, what is going to happen? So if I am installing an application on a physical server, if I am installing the application on a physical server, then this application will be running. Only this application will be allocated with this physical server. And this application requires only somewhere like 8 GB of RAM and 2 CPU is required. But what about the remaining RAM which is there on this server? It is wasted. Wasted in the sense, sometimes there is a huge requirement of CPU, huge requirement of RAM. That time it will be useful. But apart from that, the remaining time it is wasted. So to overcome all these problems, whatever the problems that we are facing on the physical servers, to overcome this problem, a new technology is introduced into the IT world, and that technology is called as, and that technology, whatever the technology we are calling now, is called as virtualization. This is the new technology which is introduced into the IT world. So this virtualization has reduced some of the problems, and this virtualization is the main theme which is running on the beyond of your cloud. So the basic cloud infrastructure is completely developed on the virtualization only. Whatever the servers that you are running on the cloud, whatever the instances that you are creating, if you go for Azure, whatever the virtual machines that you are creating, every instance that you are creating in your cloud environment is totally a virtual machine, which are using the virtualization technology. With the help of virtualization technology only, you are creating the servers. What is meant by virtualization? Virtualization means providing or else creating a logical server. We are not going to create the physical server. So if at all, if I am having a server, so here you can see I am having a physical server. In this physical server, if I am having huge resources are there, very high, some 128 GB RAM or 256 GB of RAM is there. For example, let me take like this. I am having somewhere like 256 GB of RAM and some 4 CPU is there. 4 CPUs are there. Okay, so this is the resources. These are the resources which are in my servers, which are in my physical servers. Now, what I can do, I can create a virtual machine. I can create a virtual machine with the help of some virtualization software. So who will be acting as a mediator, or else who will be acting as a, what I can say, like we can take it as a mediator. So there will be an application. There will be an application like VMware or else Citrix. So these are some of the applications which are helping the hardware or else helping the administrators to create the virtual machines. So here we are going to create some virtual machines. So these virtual machines, whenever we are creating the virtual machines, these virtual machines or else the administrator, first they will communicate with the virtualization software. Here you will have the virtualization software. So this is your virtualization software or else virtualization application. We can simply call it as an application. Now the administrator will communicate with the virtualization application, and with the help of this virtualization application, they are going to create a virtual machine. So when they are creating this virtual machine, what is happening? For example, this virtual machine requires some 4 GB to 16 GB of RAM. Let me take 8 GB of RAM and 1 CPU is required. So now what is going to happen? The administrator will communicate with this virtualization software with the help of interface, with the help of user interface. I am going to communicate with the virtualization software, and this virtualization software will communicate with my physical hardware, that saying that this particular virtual machine requires these resources, 8 GB of RAM and 1 CPU. Now my hardware, my physical hardware will provide the resources that are required by my virtual servers. So from 256, it is going to allocate some 8 GB, and from 4 CPU, my hardware, my physical hardware is going to provide 1 CPU for my virtual machine. So this is what happening. With the help of this virtualization, I can optimize my server utilization. I can, so what I can do, I can really use my server hardware. I can really use my server hardware. So if there is any, there is no usage, some of the resources are not used. So only this particular application using only 16 GB of RAM. What about remaining 240 GB? I can create multiple servers and I can create multiple applications on that servers. So this is called as virtualization. If I have to show you physically, let me show you one thing. There is a software on my laptop, or else there is a software on my computer. So that is VMware. Hold on. So this is the application where I am communicating with my virtual machines. So here what I can do, I can create a new server. So I want to create a new server next, and I will create some Linux operating system server. Okay, no problem. Next. And I can provide the disk space. So this disk space, CPU, RAM, everything is going to be consumed from my physical hardware. So I will show you that next and finish. So here you can see a Ubuntu mission has been created. Now you can see this is the server which is created. Now you can install whatever the operating system that you want. You can install the operating system and you can run your applications. Now, if you see here, there is a Windows 10 system which is running on my virtual machine. So when you see, whenever I am running my virtual machine, slowly my resources are increasing. My resource utilization is slowly increasing. Here you can see. So the memory is utilized up to 10.1 GB. It is slowly increasing. The memory utilization and the CPU utilization is slowly increasing, which means that, so whenever we are creating a virtual server, so whenever we are creating any virtual machine, this virtual machine, with the help of this virtualization software, it is going to take the hardware resources from the physical machine. So that is what going to happen in the backend. So with this virtualization, there is a maximum utilization of your resources are happening, which means that there is no, what I can say, there is no loss of your resources. So whatever the resources that you have created or else that you have given on your servers, each and every point of your resources will be utilized. No wastage is there. No resource wastage will be done. So if there is any resource is pending, if there is any resource free, then what I can do, I can create a new server and I can run new application on that. So with the help of this virtualization technology, your servers are accessed, or else your server hardwares are used optimizedly. What I can call maximum usage will be there for your resources. So this is the main point of your entire cloud. So where the cloud was first developed, what is the first seed for your cloud is your virtualization. So each and every Amazon or else any cloud service provider is there, they have invested their entire amount of time on this virtualization. With the help of this virtualization only, they can develop their servers. They are creating the virtual machines. Now, if you can see here, simply I can launch an instance on my cloud. So this instance, whatever the instance that I am deploying on the cloud is a virtual machine, which means that that virtual machine is created in one of the servers. Okay. So that is called as your virtualization. Any questions here regarding the virtualization? Did you understand what we have gone through?
Yes, I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, suppose my application is growing day by day, for example,
Mm-hmm.
and it is out of, I mean, whatever 1 GB is assigned, it is just, it has limit, it has exceeded the limit and all 8 GB and 1 CPU.
Mm-hmm.
So, how can immediately it is sync with this?
You can increase the resources. No problem. If you want, you can increase the resources. There are two types of scalings are there. One is you can create an another server, and as per the load, you can create an another server, or else you can increase the resource. No problem. While running only, you can in the virtual in physical servers, while the servers are running only, you can you can increase the service resources. But when you come to the cloud, you have to shut down the server for a while, and then you have to increase the resources. You can increase that, no problem.
Okay, thank you.
So this is about your virtualization, and actually there are two types of virtualizations. One is bare metal virtualization, and the other one is your hosted virtualization. In general, in any cloud service provider, or else any data center, any company, any on-premises organization, every IT industry will use the bare metal hypervisor only, bare metal virtualization only. They will not go for the hosted. Hosted is for the learning persons. Hosted virtualization or else hosted type 2 virtualization, type 2 hypervisor is generally for the students, or else if they want to develop any application on their laptops, they can use the hosted virtualization. Now you need to understand the main difference between the bare metal virtualization and hosted virtualization. Of course, we are into the cloud. Don't get confused. Are we are going into the virtualization topic? We are not going into that. I am saying this virtualization technology because it is the base of your entire cloud instances. Whatever the cloud infrastructure that we are developing, the base is your virtualization only. So that is the reason why I'm going with this virtualization concept. So now, what is this bare metal virtualization? The bare metal virtualization, you will have hardware. On hardware, we are going to deploy a hypervisor. We are going to create a hypervisor directly on the hardware. We are not going to install any operating system. We are going to create a hypervisor itself. So like what I can call it as, for example, here you are having some hardware resources like RAM, CPU, and storage. Okay, RAM, CPU, and storages are available for you directly on your hardware without installing any operating system. What we are going to do, we are going to create a hypervisor. Or else I can call it as a virtualization also. Hypervisor. The best example is VMware ESXi. This is the one of the hypervisor, type 1 hypervisor, and the other one is Citrix Gen servers. This is also one of the application which you can use. Okay, so on the hypervisor, I am going to create a server. So this hypervisor will helpful for creating the servers by taking the resources from my physical hardware. Okay, so this is what I can call it as a VM, virtual machine. Okay, so what virtual machine will have? Virtual machine will have the operating system. Okay, so the different operating system. If you want to install Linux, you can install Linux. You want to install Windows, you can install Windows, depending upon the application requirement and depending upon the user requirement. You are going to create a virtual machine, and I can create multiple virtual machines also. Like this, I can create multiple virtual machines also. So depends on my hardware, on my physical hardware, I can create multiple virtual machines. On the virtual machines, what I can do now, on this virtual machines, I can create the applications. I can create applications. Okay, so I can simply call it as app 1. Or else I will call it as application app. So whatever the application that you want to create, you can create. So multiple apps can be running on multiple virtualization. Here the point is, one virtual server will not communicate with the another virtual server by defaultly until the user requests. Okay, so this is called as your type 1 hypervisor, or I can simply call it as a bare metal hypervisor. Bare metal hypervisor, or I can call it as a type 1 hypervisor. Now the next one is type 2 hypervisor. The next one is type 2 hypervisor. Okay, in type 2 hypervisor, what I will have, I can have my hardware. Okay, on the hardware, I am going to install an operating system. Okay, like Windows, Linux, any operating system, Macintosh, I don't know. On that, I can create my hypervisor. I am going to install a small software called as hypervisor. On the hypervisor, I am going to create the virtual machine, the same as like this. Okay, same as like this. I am going to create my virtualization. Here you can understand this. Here we have an additional layer. Here we are going to use the hypervisors like VMware Workstation, and VirtualBox, VBox by Oracle, and KVM, kernel-based virtual machine by Linux operating system. These are the applications that I can use to create the virtual servers. Okay, so here you can install your operating system. OS like Windows, Linux, Mac. Okay, any operating system you can install on this. And below that, you will have your hardware. So this is how your type 2 hypervisor or hosted hypervisor will be like. This is my hosted hypervisor or hosted virtualization, or I can call it as a type 2 hypervisor. So that's about your hosted and bare metal. So I hope you understand this. So majority number of the cloud service provider will use the majority number of the cloud service, majority not, all the cloud service providers will use the bare metal hypervisor only. Not only the cloud service providers, but also in your companies also, you are going to use only the bare metal hypervisor only. We don't use this hosted hypervisor. We don't use the hosted hypervisor, but where we can use, if you want to do any practice, or else if you want to develop, if you want to work it out with the application, then you can go with the hosted virtualization. Maximum we can go with the bare metal only. When you go for the companies, whatever the companies, or else your cloud service providers in your organizations, or else if you go for any another company also, every company will be using this bare metal hypervisors only. Okay, so that's about your types of virtualization and what is the basic of your entire cloud infrastructure. I hope you understand this. Any questions? Okay. Hold on. Yeah, any questions?
No, sir.
Fine. So when we go back to the next concept here, I want to introduce the data center, but the data center topic will not take. So see the data, if I have to discuss about the data center, it will take another class for me. So not today. Why? Because it is a huge topic. What is meant by data center? What are the requirements to create a data center, and what will be there inside the data center? What are the different types of servers we can install on the data center? So these are all the things that I have to include. So tomorrow we will discuss about that. Tomorrow, in the sense, maybe on Monday I will discuss about that. Okay, tomorrow you don't have the class. The classes will be from Monday to Friday only. Again, I am repeating this: Monday to Friday, and again you will have a class on Monday, Tuesday, and up to maybe Wednesday also you will have the demo only. So these these yesterday and today you are having 2 demos. Monday to Wednesday, you are having remaining 3 demos. So overall 5 demos will be there, and from Thursday onwards, your link is going to be changed. So that is about your AWS concept, introduction to AWS, introduction to the cloud. So why, what is on-premises, what is meant by virtualization? Still, we are not into the cloud. So on Monday, we will discuss about the cloud. So whatever the problems that I have given over here, all these problems are overcome by your cloud infrastructure. With the help of cloud, we can overcome all these problems. Okay, so we are having different types of what I can say, different types of service models. With the help of those service models, we can eliminate all these problems. Okay, so how we are going to eliminate all the problems and everything, you will learn in the next class. Okay, so that's about the concept, and remaining concepts we will learn in the next class. And my humble request for you, again I am saying, in the previous session also I said you the same. Now also I am saying you the same. Please attend the calls. So I got some of the responses that you are not responding to the calls, and I think sorry for this, Amit, Shrikant, and I don't want to say this, Sai, so Manohar, whether these are there. So please, if you got a call from the Durga's of just 1 minute, if you are interested, yes, I am interested to join the class. If you are not interested, say that. But I don't have any problem. First of all, I just want a feedback from you. If you are okay with the classes, you can continue with the classes. Okay. So that's all for today. We'll meet on Monday session and discuss more on cloud. So what is meant by cloud and how we are going to configure the cloud. If you have any further questions, you can ask me now. Time is there for you. I am giving minimum of now you are having time up to 13 minutes. You can ask the questions. Yeah, go on. Okay, fine. Thank you, Amit. Any questions? Whoever are
So do
participating.
we, sir, this is this Linux or shell script is also included in this course?
Basics of Linux is introduced, not included. Not the entire Linux administration is not there, but yes, basics of the Linux will be there.
Notes will be provided, sir.
For cloud, you will get the notes. Okay. Don't worry, you will slowly understand the process. For cloud, I cannot say that I will dictate the notes, but yes, you will get the notes. Don't worry about them. Okay, yeah. Any other questions?
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Any other questions? Deepak, do you want to ask me anything? You are unmuted. Any other questions, guys? Sorry for this. Why again I am repeating. If you have any questions, if you have any doubts, you can clarify with me.
How long is the course, sir? For
the course
how long
duration
is
will be 45 days, 45 working days.
1 hour section?
1 hour of session will be there. 1 hour, 1 hour, 15 minutes. That depends upon the topic. Some days it will be continued for 45 minutes only. So that depends.
So will this cover the whole AWS?
Every service will be covered. Maximum IT related service, all IT related service will be covered.
So using this, can I do the certification of PCAP?
Yeah. You can clear the AWS associate level certifications. AWS associate architect level. Okay.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Yeah. And
hello.
Yes.
Deepak Singh here. Are you able to hear me?
Yeah, I'm able to hear you. Tell me.
Yeah. So actually, I have one question. In Azure, okay, there are many sections like Azure admin, Azure DevOps, okay, and Azure developer. So maybe some companies looking for Azure admin, some companies looking for Azure, Azure DevOps, some Azure developer. So it is same like in AWS. If I learn the AWS, so we'll cover all these topics. Did you get?
Of course. So here, the point here is one thing I want to make clear with this. There are so many people who are very, very affected with this terms called as Azure DevOps, AWS DevOps, GCP DevOps. There are no such DevOps are there outside the world. You are having only one DevOps. Of course, there are some extra tools are there. Depending upon the Azure, there are some extra tools. If you are going for AWS, there are some extra tools. But the main tools that you are using for any cloud is the same. The tools which you are using in DevOps are the same. So let me tell you, only one DevOps is there. Don't get confused of that. First thing is that. So whenever you are learning DevOps, these are the main assumptions. So first thing you need to have a knowledge on SCM. Okay. Source code management, or else version control should be there, which can be done with the help of Git, or I can call it as Bitbucket. So you need to learn that. Obviously, either you are working with Azure or else you are working with AWS, any cloud. The first DevOps tool which you need to have a brief understanding is Git and Bitbucket, or else some companies may use Subversion. Okay. So these are all the things that you have to use for source code management. And the second thing is for developing the infrastructure. Either you are working with Azure, or else you are working with AWS, or else you are working with GCP. In DevOps, if you want to develop the infrastructure, there is a tool called as Terraform. With this tool only, you can develop your infrastructure. After developing the infrastructure, if you want to host any containers, then you are having Docker. Okay, you need to learn Docker, obviously. Kubernetes, you need to learn this. Okay, and then you can go with the Ansible. This is also the tool which you have to learn. First, I am removing the confusion which you are having. Okay, so I'm not completely into the topic. You have asked whatever you have asked me. I understood the topic. And the next one is Terraform, Docker, Kubernetes, Ansible, Jenkins. So for any, if you are working with Azure or AWS, it doesn't matter. You have to learn each and every tool. These tools are very, very necessary. For monitoring, you can go for Prometheus, Grafana, or else what I can say, there are several monitoring tools are also available. Nagios, like that. So that depends. And Azure DevOps is such a tool, like there will be a single CI/CD pipelining tool. It's a CI/CD pipelining tool like your Jenkins. It's a paid pipelining tool. Azure DevOps is simply a paid pipelining tool. Jenkins is a free and open source pipelining tool. So don't get very, very attached to these terms. Azure DevOps is completely different from AWS DevOps. AWS DevOps is completely different from DevOps, and GCP DevOps is completely different from DevOps. It is not like this. There is only single DevOps. Only one DevOps is there. And you need to understand one thing. DevOps is not a tool like Python. Python, yes, it is a tool. Java is a tool. Oracle is a tool. And MySQL is a tool. So these are all the tools, but DevOps is not a tool. DevOps is like, it's a combination of multiple tools. It's a methodology. It's not a subject. It's a methodology. It's a combination of multiple tools. How we can develop the applications. So DevOps will say you that how we can automate the application development process, how we can automate the infrastructure development process. That is the main thing, main motto of DevOps. So the first thing you need to understand here is whatever, so don't get confused of somebody will say you learn Azure DevOps, learn AWS DevOps. So wherever you go, if you go for AWS DevOps, you will learn the same tools. If you go for the Azure DevOps, you will learn the same tools. But either there will be some distraction. Either one or two tools may differ from Azure to AWS, AWS to Azure. But everything is quite common. Okay, so whatever you learn in Azure, I'm not saying that you will have the complete resources that are available in AWS also. Whatever the resources that are available in AWS, they will be there completely on Azure. So here there is a small difference between Azure and AWS. So the question you have asked me is that whether we are going to have the same in the AWS. Of course, you are having the same on the AWS. The only point which I have to mention here is there are no such DevOps are there. Okay, only there is a small difference in the tools are there. So that makes the main difference between Azure, AWS, and normal DevOps. Okay, that's it. Apart from that, there are no such different DevOps tools are there. Okay, I hope you understand this point. Now, did you got your answer for your question?
Yeah, one more question. Is there any different section like AWS admin like
Yes.
that?
Yeah, of course. I forgot to say this. See, that in the developer perspective, for your in AWS, what is the topics that you can understand? You can go for the Lambda functions. You can go for the REST APIs. So these are the services that you have to learn in the developer perspective. And if you learn the infrastructure also, that will be very good. And as an admin perspective, you have to learn about multiple resources like VPC, EC2 instances, storages, relational databases, and everything you have to cover. So especially whatever the course that you are taking, that will be covering the complete part of administrators. So it will be very easy. And I am not saying that developer cannot do the AWS. Yes, developer also has to do the AWS. Why? Because they will develop the code. How they will deploy the code on the AWS by using some Lambda functions. So how we can use the Lambda functions? To understand that, you need to learn the cloud. Okay, so it is not for a single group of people, not for the administrators. Cloud is not for the administrators, or nor I can call them, or nor I can call that cloud is only for the developers. So cloud is for all the people, whoever are working. Cloud can help you on machine learning. Cloud can help you on the artificial intelligence. Cloud can help you on the development process. Cloud can help you on the administration process. Everywhere nowadays, why each and every company is requesting the candidates, employees, not only the administrators. Companies are not requesting the administrators. Companies are requesting the developers to learn the cloud. Why? Because the only problem is that you need to understand each and every service to deploy the applications, to create the applications. What is the funda? What is happening in the behind? So everybody has to learn. By 2028 or 2030, so you will see only DevOps engineers, not developers, not the operations team. So you will have the DevOps engineers who is having the complete knowledge on complete IT infrastructure and as well as the development phases. So now, from now, each and every company is looking for the administrators who is having a knowledge on development, like Python coding language, Java languages. So the administrators should have the knowledge on Java and Python, as well as the developers should have the knowledge on administration tasks. Like they need to have the understanding about the networking. They need to have the understanding about the operating system. So by combining the DevOps engineer nowadays, from I don't think so now it is very good, very popular. But when you come to 2030, at that time you will not see two teams like development team and operations teams. You only see only one team, that is DevOps engineers team. Okay, in majority number of the companies, you will have only DevOps engineers. So that is the slowly happening thing in the IT industry. I hope you understand this.
Yeah. One more
So
thing.
that
If
case,
I complete this course, will I get the hello?
Tell me.
Yeah. So if I complete this course, so how much experience will I get? Like will I
That
get the
depends.
2-3
That depends
experience?
upon your practicals. I cannot say that. I
Okay.
won't say that even.
And will you provide the? Will you give the real time scenario? So I will, do the
Of
practice.
course. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Sir, if I want to take DevOps separately and after this, is there any separate course for DevOps also?
Actually, I used to give DevOps training for offline batches. Now on online, I am not providing the DevOps training, but I need to check with this. I don't know. I'm completely into AWS. Okay. So if possible, if there is any possibility, definitely I will make sure that I can give training on DevOps also. I need to check with the management ones. Okay. For time being, I am going with the AWS one. Okay. So, and one more thing is that you need to learn DevOps also after the completion of this course. And don't be in a hurry. So whatever you learn in this course, I'm pretty much sure that you will get each and every service. Okay. You will get the data warehouse service, basics of data warehousing. You will get the basics of databases. You will get the basics of each and everything. Okay. So you don't need to worry about what I am going through. So slowly you will
So
understand.
RDS will be completed. RDS is also like for the databases, everything it will be shown, sir.
Yeah, like see here, RDS in the sense, I don't show you like how to create the database. See, that's completely comes under DBMS, database management. Here you will learn about DBA. Okay, not completely DBA, how to create the database. If one database is down, how high availability will be there with the databases. How an application will fetch out the data from the databases. So that I can show you, but I cannot show you the entire DBMS code rules and all the things. Okay. Then that will be comes under the database management. But I will show you how to create the database, how to deploy the servers, how to install the databases on AWS, what are the different databases that are provided by the AWS, that I can show you. Okay. I hope I gave you more clarity about what you are going to learn. Is there any other questions apart from this? Okay, fine then guys, we'll meet on Monday and discuss more on the remaining topics of cloud. So we are still not into the cloud. From Monday onwards, we will be diving into the cloud architecture and all the things. So have a nice day and we'll meet on Monday. Any other queries?
The videos will be shared on the daily basis. Or how it will be?
Of course, on daily basis, you will get the videos. Every day to day, you will get the videos. Don't worry. When the class is completed, obviously you are going to get the videos. Yeah.
What about on today's and yesterday's videos?
No, I am not managing the videos. You need to contact the management once. Of course, you will get the videos. I need to check with them once. Okay. So when the demos are completed, you will definitely get all the videos. Only for
Okay.
demo.